Welcome, and thanks for joining us. In this video, we will learn about how to get started with code-alongs. After watching this video, you will be able to explain what a code-along is and understand how it is a valuable learning tool. You will also understand the best instructional practices for using code-alongs in your classroom. Let's get started. First, let's start by explaining what code-alongs are. A code-along is an interactive way of teaching programming where the teacher shares their screen and writes code while the students are following along. Students can follow along by looking at the teacher's screen or by opening their own code editor and writing the code themselves. You can let students know which option you recommend or let them choose based on what would work best for them. Now let's go over how to set up your screen for a code-along. During a code-along, you'll want to share your screen with your code editor interface. In this example, I'll be using Replit. We recommend you always check that you don't have too many tabs open, as these can distract the students from looking at the code. You can also hide your favorites bar if you think that would be distracting. We also recommend you make sure your screen is zoomed in enough for the students to be able to read the code. You can always ask your students if they can read this. It's perfectly normal to get nervous when leading code-alongs, as we know coding in front of students is not always easy. You can be open and honest with your students and share how you're modeling Girls Who Code's core value of bravery. We recommend you practice code-alongs ahead of time to help you build your confidence. You can also write down the solution on a paper that you can reference when teaching, or if you have a second monitor, you can open up the solution there. Taking the extra time to prepare can help code-alongs go smoothly and help you build your confidence when leading them. Now, let's talk about times when you might want to use code-alongs in your classroom. A good time to use a code-along is when you are introducing a new concept. It can be helpful to show students how something works in code instead of only using slides. When you are using code-alongs to introduce a new topic, we recommend using a number of checks for understanding. Checks for understanding help ensure students are following along, and it's important to include them, especially when covering new material. Some examples of checks for understanding with code-alongs are asking the class to participate. For example, you can ask them to help you name a variable, making an intentional error and seeing if the students can spot it, or just asking students if they understand by using reactions or typing in the chat. Can you think of other checks for understandings you can use with code-alongs? Pause here in the video if you want to think of them on your own. You can also use code-alongs when you want to review a concept. Let's say, for example, everyone in class is making a similar mistake when defining new variables. You can create some sample code with an error. As you can see in this example, this code is missing semicolons when defining new variables. You can then have students use the stamp feature in Zoom annotations to mark where the error is in the code. Another option is having students write out which line of code the error is on in the chat. Depending on the error, you can also have them write out possible solutions for the code. Remember to embrace wait time during this period, as students may take longer to read through the code and answer the question. You can also use a technique called waterfall chat, where everyone in the class types their answer in the chat but doesn't press enter till the instructor says. This way, everyone answers at the same time, and students who type faster won't always be the first to answer. So let's review. Now we know what a code-along is and how it can be a valuable learning tool. We also know the best instructional practices for using it in the classroom. Thanks for watching, and please reach out to Girls Who Code if you have any follow-up questions.